let it go. Did you hear that? Let it go. There was a very large and muscular snake slithering away in a residential area, and it happened on a sharp saw laid out kind of from some project that was going on. And as it slithered over that saw, it cut itself. And the snake became angry. So in typical snake fashion, it wrapped itself around that saw, saying, I'm going to squeeze the life out of this saw. And so it did. Squeezed and squeezed, and the saw was still there, didn't yield. And it was painful because the cuts multiplied, but the snake kept squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until, you know it, the life went out of the snake. Interesting story, a little metaphor for us. Sometimes we squeeze and want to just get the life out of something that's stuck in our craw, and eventually we diminish our own life. That's what we'd like to talk about today, letting it go so that we can flourish. Today we'll talk a little bit about self-awareness, because that's part of the process, and that means becoming aware of some things that we may not currently be consciously aware of. Then we'll talk about compassion a little bit too. Big part of letting it go. So first of all, let's talk about it in three ways. Let's talk about compassion. Let's talk about letting go. Let's talk about becoming free using the hands, the grasp, using the mind, and using the heart. Letting go with our hands, our mind, and our heart. You undoubtedly have known somebody who was a hoarder. I'm not saying you are, no accusations here. Well, you may have a few extra things in the closet and the storage bin may be overflowing, but you know the hoarders that they have a house full of dozens of cats or dogs, maybe, or books and magazines and papers piled to the ceiling, so there's barely a pathway to move through the house. That's someone who needs to know how to let go. And we sure all do need that. And that's the idea of taking our hands, which are grasped around those things that we can't seem to let go of. They don't serve any purpose in our life, but we can't seem to let go of them. We just got that solid grasp. And to pry our fingers from those to let go is our challenge. Long time ago, when I was post-college years, I was in the Army. I was stationed in San Angelo, Texas, not San Antonio. And while I was there, I connected with a youth group. We went on a retreat, 2-3 days, as I remember. We got kind of integrally involved with each other. We got to know each other well. We bonded a little bit. And we did a number of exercises, including trust falls and things like that that you did in the, well, that was a few years ago. But anyway, I remember one exercise particularly. It was an exercise which we paired off into 2 groups. I think there was about 12 in each group. And we simulated being on a moon mission. We were on a moon mission. And we had a list of supplies that we had with us, but we had been separated from the craft that would bring us back to safety and Earth. And we had to figure out what we could dispose of, what we could let go in order to get back to that craft so that we could be saved. Well, it so happened that in the process of doing that, I ended up as the leader. I don't know why. But I remember so strongly that there were food items that we had to let go. And some people just couldn't let go of that one. No, not that. Let go of this. And we all had different things that we needed to let go of. Matches. Well, you can't use matches on the moon, but we had them in our provisions. We had to let that go. But there were a couple of people that just didn't want to let go of those matches. That was survival. At any rate, the process of letting go was critical to survival. Or I'm going to say today, the process of letting go is critical to flourishing. Not just this hoarding sense of letting go from our grasp, but the letting go from our grasp of opinions, maybe. How about opinions? You have some strong opinions. You just want everybody to think exactly like you do and the world will be all right. And we can't let go of that opinion. Or maybe control. I know there's no control freaks here or with us online, but sometimes we just think, oh, it would just go right if I could have control of this situation. We see that played out on a national and an international level too. The need to control, the inability to let go so that we may flourish. How about judgments? If you have judgments that you've held for a long period of time, again, you know it's just right. And so you can't let that go. Well, keeps you from being free, keeps you from flourishing. Or maybe resentments, decades-long held resentments that you've held over years and years and years, unable to fully let those go. Well, I'm proposing, if you would really be free, if you would really flourish, that the hands that grasp and the virtual hand, maybe not virtual, but the imaginary hands that grasp these things that are a part of our life that bind us up. There's where we start in terms of letting go. We let go with our hands. We also let go with our mind. So, funny thing about the mind is, wherever we focus, wherever we keep our mind engaged, that's what our world is going to look like. And even though we have a heart's desire that's out there that we're never achieving, we just can't get there, we hold on to what our thoughts are about some things. Again, from our perspective, that's just the right way to do it. And so we reinforce that again and again. And sometimes it's totally unconscious. We don't even remember it, but we think that, I guess we're supposed to think about 60,000 thoughts a day, and many of them are the same thought over and over again. And some of those are thoughts that don't serve us at all and are on the list for letting go. There are also things that within us that we need to let go. Because when we just open the doors of our mind to a new perspective, somehow something can come in that helps us to clear out what we don't know. So we look to open our mind. There's a beautiful poem that I want to share with you. You may have heard it before. It's a Rumi poem called The Guest House. And it really brings this out very clearly, that there may be things that come into our life. If we allow them and even welcome them, they will help us to let go. There you go. Rumi's The Guest House. This being, this human being, this being human, I did that a couple different ways, is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep through your house, empty it of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. the dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Our mind has a set perspective so often. We don't open ourselves to a new perspective, to a shift in perspective, which would really get us where we want to go, which would free us to experience so much more. So opening our mind, allowing it to accept and welcome all that comes, in order that may clear out that which is not useful for us, so that we may flourish. So there's a, well, I'm going to name it, but don't worry about the name. A thing called the Johari Principle. I don't know if anybody knows about that. Johari Principle says there are things that we know and that those around us know. So we know and they know. There are things that we know, but they don't know. They're secrets. And there are things, ironically, that they know that we don't know. And our challenge is to take that which we know and they don't know, allow it full disclosure, allow that vulnerability, and things that they don't know, or they do know and we don't know, to listen, to hear, perhaps from a valued friend or a counselor, in order that we may move forward. We can't become self-aware enough to get rid of some of these things until we go through a process of vulnerability and of listening. So self-awareness is so critical for us. You remember the phrase, "You shall know the truth and the truth will make you free." How often do you sit in self-observation? How often do you just get quiet? How often do you ask a friend, a partner, a valued counselor? How do you see it? Maybe I'm blind to something. But if you can get there, you will know the truth. The truth will make you free. Reminds me of that scripture from the Christian scriptures. By the renewing of your mind. It's the renewing, making it new, making it what it really is, getting rid of all that's been hoarded, pushing that aside, letting it go, so that we may be renewed, alive, invigorated. And then there's the heart, as we're able to let go from the heart. By opening our heart, we are freed. So I really love the practice, and I'm going to read something more. Practice of someone that you know, the Dalai Lama, how to be compassionate. We talk about the heart, we talk about love, we talk about compassion, but we don't very well know how to do that. First of all, there's compassion for somebody else. Compassion is a general term, something where we become aware of someone else's pain, perhaps. And that's great, that compassion. And it's especially great when we exercise that with ourselves, our self-compassion. When we truly become aware, allow ourselves to feel and become aware of that pain. Again, helps to have that process of self-observation. But then it goes a little bit further. How about when we truly understand the pain of someone else? When we can empathize with them, or turning it around, when we can empathize with ourselves. Then we're on the road to a freedom that will allow us to really grow. And we're going to get to that grow next week. But back to the Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama has a very rigorous spiritual practice. I believe he gets up about 3 in the morning and meditates for about 4 hours to get it started, to get his day started. And he has a particular practice that is freeing for him, but also impactful in the world. I'm not sure what he's share with you what he says in this book, How to Be Compassionate. Every day in the early morning, I do this practice in a general way and with regard to all living beings. I also single out Chinese leaders and officials who make decisions to torture or to kill particular Tibetans, his people. I visualize them and I draw myself into their ignorance, prejudice, hatred, and pride. I feel that even if some portion of their negative attitudes came inside me due to my own training, it would not influence my behavior and turn me into a negative person. Because of this, ingesting their negativities is not that bad for me, and I view it as a lessening of their problems through compassion. I do this with such strong feeling that if later in the day I hear of new atrocities, although one part of my mind might get angry, the main part is still under the influence of my morning practice. The intensity of the anger quickly reduces to the point where it is groundless. Whether this meditation really helps those officials or not, it gives me peace of mind. The personal benefit is immense. Remember, compassion is not based on agreeing with the actions of others. It is based on recognizing that we are all similar in wanting happiness and not wanting pain, even if we have silly ideas about how to achieve those goals. So where are you in this situation? Where are you in terms of opening your heart? Can you open your heart to those around you? Can you open your heart even to yourself? And then maybe sometimes, can you even do that to a degree? And I don't suspect that you'll be right up there with the Dalai Lama. I know I won't. But can you do that where you can feel the pain, feel the confusion, feel the very negative sorts of things, but yet secure in the knowledge that you are divine in nature? You can mitigate that which happens in our world. Seems like a big task, but let's start with mitigating just a very little thing. Allow that which you do not agree with, what you think is unprincipled, what you think is reprehensible, draw that within you just a little bit. Let that connect with the divine in you. And you will know through compassion. You will have opened your heart. And you will let go of those judgments that you may have had. And you will be free. So, Rick, I want you to put up a slide I've got here. If you were here last week, you'll remember that we had a polarity map. We called it the acceptance polarity map. And now, well, we're working on it. We're going to get a letting go polarity map today. There we go. It's that infinity symbol on its side. And you see on the left, letting go, the contrasting value is that of holding on. You know, going back to moms are good at holding on for their kids, nurturing them, making sure that what they need, they get, making sure they are protected. But moms eventually get to the point where they have to let go. The nest empties, kids go off to college, they become an adult, and there's a letting go. So moms are maybe a little more practiced at that than us who are not moms. But as you see on that right-hand side, When you're holding on, you get to the bottom, there's a place of fear. Fear that you're going to lose something. Fear that you won't have something that you want. Fear that somebody else is going to think ill of you. And so you hold on. It's only as you can walk through that, not easy, you can walk through that you ascend to the other side where you're on the top, where you can actually make some action plans. There where you let go. And we'll go through this, just a couple of things. Making some action plans so you can let go for the purpose of freedom. How do we do that? By the way, if you have your polarity map at home, go home and put those new terms. It's the letting go polarity map, letting go on one side, holding on the other. Those two are important values. Holding on isn't wrong, but so when we stay there too long, we don't ever get to the letting go, which frees us. We talked about the power of strength as one of Unity's 12 powers. The ability to persist, to endure, to hold on, to stay the course. That's on the one side of holding on. And those are good values, but somehow we can get mired in that and never get to the place where we can let go to experience that freedom. And of course, we have the power of release, the ability to release, to deny, to remove, to let go. That's on the other side. And that's what we're talking about today. That's where our focus is, to be able to release, let go. I love the song we sang, relax, let go, release, surrender. It's a lot of fun for one thing, but it's true. As we're able to do that. So here's how we do that. I'm going to suggest that we just ask ourselves 3 simple questions. We talked about opening our hands, opening our mind, opening our heart. So take note of it. I see somebody, Anne Marie's taking notes over here. Way to go, Anne Marie. Ask yourself this question when you get up in the morning. What is mine to let go today? Could be opinion, could be resentment, could be stuff in the storage room. What is mine to let go of today? Simple. If you do it, it's going to make a difference. With regard to your mind, ask the question, who am I really? And am I acting that way? Am I an expression of the divine? Do I remember who I really am? How I was created? We talk about that often. More conversation needed. But who am I in truth? And do I act that way? And then with regard to your heart, who is mine to love today? Could be you. Could be you. Could be somebody you just don't get along with. But would you be free? If you ask these questions, insert this into your practice. It'll allow you to let go of some of the shackles that hold you down, hold you back. It'll allow you to be free, allow you to flourish. I challenge you to tiptoe into this, give it a try, maybe on a small scale. The more you do it, the more you'll want to do it. Remember that snake wrapped around that saw? So it's like us. Can we loosen our grip? Can we say, I don't have to squeeze the life out of that person? I don't have to squeeze the life out of that situation. I can let it go. And if I do, I don't diminish my life. I elevate it. So I challenge you and myself to let go. Let go. And so it is.